not nearly enough attention is paid to the relationship between where a saddle is positioned and how it acts. So what's this mean? While most cyclists have no trouble setting their saddle height based on what feels most efficient, saddle tilt and fore-aft are many times based purely on comfort. One very common situation is when a rider who finds the reach to their handlebars to be too long, they'll opt to slide the saddle all the way forward in order to make up this distance. So how does this affect saddle action? We need to think of the saddle as a leaf spring. The shell of the saddle, which is the part we sit on, is stretched between two metal rails. And these rails are what act like a leaf spring. Both ends of the leaf spring are meant to move with the seat post clamp providing the pivot point. Not all rails move the same amount, and the rigidity of the shell of the saddle does play a role, but if your saddle isn't clamped to the center of the rails, it may not move under you in the same way. When the saddle's all the way forward, so the seat clamp is all the way to the back of the saddle rails, the rear spring is locked out, and the saddle will preferentially flex on the front end when the body weight is on it, and this will nose the saddle down slightly. On the other end of the spectrum, if the saddle's slid all the way back, the rearward section of the rails will flex more, and the saddle will effectively nose up slightly with body weight. So what's the takeaway here? Well, when setting your saddle tilt, you may need to account for what the saddle does when it's weighted. Depending on where you're clamped on it in the fore-aft position, you may need to start with the saddle nose up or nose down slightly instead of level, so that it's level when you sit on it. Now, I wouldn't jump right in and start nosing your saddle up or down. It's always best to test it with the saddle level first, and then, if you feel like either you're slipping forward on it or the nose is pressing up into you, then you might think about applying this information and changing your position.